Risk aversion, stronger regulation and uncertainty will increasingly encourage investors to consider the promise of Africa's emerging economies. Ashlea Harvey discussed risk and reward in Africa with Michel Wormser, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the World Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency.
Well, this is a global turmoil that is not going to leave any investors the same as when it started. Everything will be changed. For many investors, including those who are here at this conference, the profits in the future are not going to be made in Europe. They know that Europe is heading for a recession. It's not going to be in the United States, even with the better signs which are happening now. They know that it's going to be in emerging countries. And our own data are showing that the developing world is going to grow at 5.4% in the year to come. So that's why we have so many participants here, and that's why they believe that it is in the developing countries and in Africa in particular that they can still find opportunities for profits.
Now, obviously the global turmoil creates a lot of uncertainty for investors. What were some of the findings of the World Bank's recent report on world investment and political risks?
Well, they found exactly what you are saying, which is that what worries the investors is precisely the volatility and the fragility of the areas where they can still make some profits and they can find opportunities for the growth of their business. So what it also says in this report is that there is increased risk aversion. Both lenders, who are today under the pressure of the Eurozone crisis, trying to fit very stringent prudential requirements and therefore are becoming much more risk averse, and also the shareholders who have seen what happened in the Middle East and also much more cautious about the investments they undertake. But despite that, they are still investing in emerging countries. And 50% of them that we surveyed in that report have decided that they would continue to invest in the year to come in those countries.
Which countries are they looking for growth potential?
They are looking at countries like those that we find in Africa. Africa is a continent which has grown at more than 6% in the last year. The same projections are that next year and the year after, that growth will continue, and that comes in the tail of many years of similar growth. So the investors are discovering this continent as the continent for opportunities where they want to go.
And specifically on this continent?
On this continent, it's everywhere. It's in West Africa, it's in South Africa, it's East Africa, it's in a lot of the countries which today are implementing pro-private sector measures and reforms, and it is in those countries that they want to go.
Now, there are a number of risks when it comes to investing in developing markets, one of them being nationalization and government intervention. Another, are investors overcoming these concerns?
The investors are going to be worried about exactly those risks. Expropriation is a risk that a shareholder and a lender is primarily going to be concerned about, particularly in the area of mining. And this is particularly true at a time when the commodity prices are higher. It's also a time when the citizens are trying to get a lot more of the benefits of these mining projects into their own pocket, where they get impatient with governments that do not deliver on results. So under that pressure, there is going to be risk of expropriation. But the best mitigant that an enterprise can find against that risk of expropriation is to have good contracts. And is to have contracts that are going to deliver for the government and most importantly for the citizens of that country.
In your opinion, what would you highlight as some of the opportunities in mining on the continent?
The opportunities in mining, they are everywhere. Partly because the continent has been underexplored. People are surprised to find that a lot of places still hold huge quantities of gas that could be extracted, that could feed some project in LNG. There is some gold possibilities and other minerals which are just waiting to be mined. If only the environment was better in some of the countries which hold the potential, the miners will be there tomorrow. So it's a huge potential in those countries, and with the stabilization of the regimes, legislative, land and others, this is a set of countries that is going to attract a lot more private investors. And MIGA, that I represent at that conference, can help those investors precisely by mitigating the political risk and making sure that in case of expropriation, the investors will be compensated for the losses that they incur.
Lastly, your outlook, what should we expect to see on the continent in the coming year?
I see an Africa which is becoming the dominant continent where people want to invest. I see an Africa where people will want to invest, and that's why there are so many today in this conference. I see also a number of leaders who are taking responsibility for the future of their countries and want to make sure that the environment in which investors invest is conducive for those investments.